everyone, welcome to Twisted Talks. I'm Josh,
I'm Tanya.
and this week we are recording through the interwebs. So bear with us if the quality seems a bit different or anything like that. Most of the time we record in person, either in my kitchen, Tanya's spare room, Colin the Corolla.
We love Colin the Corolla.
So, it's a learning curve, but we're trying our best. This is totally not the second or third app we've tried to use to record it, but let's not talk about that. But anyway.
Definitely not the third time we've tried on this app.
No, not at all. That wouldn't, no, we're very prepared for this. But, what was it? Oh, yeah, so I guess this is the first Halloween episode.
Yes. And so, before we
exciting.
I'm very sorry if you hear snap, crackling or popping in the background on my end. I have my fire lit because it is Baltic at the moment. It is freezing.
Snap, crackle and pop. Okay, girl, didn't realise you worked for Rice Krispies.
Bitch, I am a Rice Krispie.
Tanya Rice, the Rice Krispie Queen.
Yes, that's me.
Anyway, I'm about to have a coughing fit. Excuse me. But anyway, with that said, with the minute of babbling and introductions, Tanya is going to give us a Halloween true crime, and then we'll tie it up with a little Irish legend story at the end from myself. So, Tanya, are you ready to take it away?
I am. So today I'm beginning our story with Leslie Ann Mazzara. I think I'm pronouncing that correctly. A lot of these surnames seem to be kind of Italian in nature. I'm not Italian. I apologise. I'm going to do my best.
These names are very exotic to us.
Yes, to our little Irish brains. Leslie Ann Mazzara was born on August 1st, 1978 in Florida or South Carolina. I've seen a few different sources say a few different things, but as far as I can tell, it is South Carolina. She was described by friends and family as someone with a bubbly personality and the ability to lift the mood of everyone around her. Leslie played lacrosse in high school and she had danced with the Greenville Ballet Company. And she had also previously won the Miss Williamston beauty pageant in South Carolina.
I hate beauty pageants.
Same, but look, what can you do, Josh? People are going to do what they want to do. Yeah. She was close with her mother, her two brothers and her grandmother, and she later moved to Napa Valley to be closer to her mother. She began working as a sales coordinator and tour guide at the Niebaum Coppola winery, which was actually run by Francis Ford Coppola, who directed The Godfather.
Love a bit. Oh, interesting. Yeah. Little name drop. Love a bit of vino as well. Oh, actually backtracking. I don't hate beauty pageants. I just hate child beauty pageants.
Yes. Don't be putting fake tan on your toddler. Don't be bleaching her teeth and her hair. Let her be a kid.
And I just think it also tends to be a potential grooming ground for paedophiles.
Oh, absolutely.
As we've heard in other true crime stories, actually, and we will probably cover one at some stage ourselves.
Yes. So sometime in the summer of 2004, Leslie ended up moving to, into a house on Dorset Street in Napa Valley with Adriane Insogna and Lauren. Now, Lauren, I'm not going to get into too much based on my research, and we'll get to that kind of closer to the end of the case as to why. So Adriane and Lauren were close friends. They were already living together in this house on Dorset Street, and they were in need of a third roommate to split the rent with. So they had met Leslie when she moved to Napa Valley. They became good friends and she was invited to live with them and she agreed. The neighbourhood itself was described as a quiet place to live with friendly neighbours, and the girls were described as quiet and respectful neighbours and tenants.
Sounds suburban almost.
Very suburban. Adriane Michelle Insogna was born on December 30th, 1977 in Napa Valley, and she was described as a fiercely competitive woman. She loved volleyball. She had adored the Girl Scouts in her younger years, and she actually became a troop leader in her adult years. She was close to her mother, her father, her stepmother, and her brother. And Adriane was actually in a car accident when she was 16 years old, and she almost died in this
Oh
collision,
no.
which left her with memory loss and some other issues that she worked really, really hard on. And she actually got a scholarship for college before becoming a civil engineer with the Napa Sanitation District. And here she met Lily Prudhomme, who would become a very close friend of hers. And Lily and her fiance Eric had actually helped Adriane and Lauren move into the house on Dorset Street when they first moved in. Now, after moving in together, life continued as normal for the girls. They became good friends, and they managed to actually merge their friend groups without any issues, which I think is extremely rare.
And ideal for them.
Yeah, I was very impressed. I was very impressed.
Oh, actually, so all of them living together, it was obviously they were quite a bit older.
Yes, so Lauren was 27, Adriane was 26.
Okay.
Adriane was 26, and Leslie was also 26.
Oh God, okay. Now I just feel old that I said quite a bit older, and they're basically the same age as us.
Yeah, like two of them
Just
are
a little older.
gosh, they're not old. They're not that old. They're young. So during the time that the three lived in the house, Leslie, before she moved to Napa Valley, had actually gone through a breakup with her boyfriend William Lee Youngblood, and he did
Youngblood.
William Youngblood.
Stop the lights.
Yeah. So he didn't take it very well. I don't think he ever got physical or was abusive, as far as I can tell. Just wasn't happy about it. So because she was dealing with this breakup, she was trying to get over her ex. Leslie went on several dates and blind dates, and she was out having fun.
You need to get over someone, get under someone else.
Exactly. So at one point, Leslie actually brought someone home, and Adriane and Lauren, I think, were having a movie night at the time and heard everything.
Oh, that was always my deepest fear, living in the apartment with the girls, because I'm like, I just don't want anyone to hear me doing my business.
No, you don't.
Although I think that only ever happened once and my business was not heard. So, and I actually, I'd still be mortified of that now if I ever had a boyfriend.
Yeah.
Because I don't want the fam to hear either. But, like I said, requires a boyfriend, so there's no fear of that.
It's not great. It's embarrassing.
Tell the story, Tanya. Tell the story.
Okay. So I was at home one day with my boyfriend. Okay. And we did what boyfriends and girlfriends tend to do. And
we'll leave the rest to your imagination.
In the middle of it, we hear a door slam. And when I tell you, two human beings have never moved so fast. But we heard the door slam and we both just froze. And then we heard whistling coming down the hallway. My brother was coming down the hallway and sprang into action. I ran into the bathroom. I was so embarrassed that I was laughing. Couldn't find my clothes. He put his shorts on backwards and went up and spoke to my mother in that state. And
oh my God, I never knew he put the shorts on backwards.
Yeah, he put his shorts on backwards and went up and was having the chats with my mother. I just grabbed clothes, put them on and went up, and I was absolutely shamed of my life. Ashamed. I was so embarrassed. But I don't know.
I just think it's so funny, the timing of it, considering you live alone.
Yeah, I'm assuming.
And that was when they decided to pop on over for a family chat.
Yeah, and the thing is, I always have the door locked. It was the one day I didn't have the door locked, and I'm assuming that they heard something to say that Anthony was slamming doors and coming down the hallway whistling. Oh, anyway, that's enough about me and my mortification. So, Adriane and Lauren heard Leslie and her date having sex, and they kind of had a giggle about it, but decided it was okay, and they weren't going to say anything because they're three adults living in a house. These things are bound
to happen. And adults do the dirty.
Yeah, they be riding. So they decided that it was okay. They weren't going to say anything. And sometime after this, Adriane's best friend Lily, who she had met at her job, and her fiance Eric called off their wedding. So Adriane and Lily began planning a trip to Australia because Adriane wanted to climb, I didn't write it down, but it was one specific bridge in Australia. She really wanted to climb it. And I suppose it was kind of taking Lily's mind off of things because the wedding was set for November 1st. Now, on Halloween night, 2004, the girls had actually gone out of their way to make special treat bags for their trick-or-treaters, which I thought was so cute. And neighbours...
Not in this economy would I be doing that.
Nope. You're getting fun-sized chocolate bars, kids, okay? You're small, you don't need the big ones.
I love hearts with it.
Maybe some Parma Violets if you're lucky.
The odd Swizzler.
The odd Swizzler. Maybe a Curly Whirly if I'm feeling fancy. So they made their special treat bags for their trick-or-treaters, and the neighbours and parents said that the atmosphere at the house was fun and friendly. And then as the knocks on the door began to dwindle, the girls had decided to call it a night. So Leslie and Adriane headed up to their rooms at around 11 p.m, while Lauren went to her bedroom on the ground floor. Now, unbeknownst to the three girls, a man had been lurking outside their home that evening, smoking cigarettes as he lay in wait. And when he decided that the house was dark and quiet enough, he shimmied through an unlocked window at the front of the house. Lauren woke between 1:30 and 2 a.m. as the motion sensor light at their garage, whatever, tripped, and her dog Chloe began to growl. She assumed that it was one of Adriane's cats, so she quieted the dog and attempted to go back to sleep.
Oh no.
She heard someone enter the house and go upstairs, but she thought that it was someone Leslie was seeing because previously Leslie had brought someone home and they had all decided it was okay. And she obviously didn't know that this man had come in through the window. So assuming that it was someone coming to visit Leslie, she went back to sleep. Not too long later, she woke again to the sound of Adriane screaming, "Please help me," from upstairs. Lauren cracked her door open and peeked her head out, but she physically could not get her body to move because obviously this is a terrifying situation. You wake
up, fight, flight, or freeze, and she froze.
And she froze, which, no judgment.
No, you can't be blamed for that. It's a psychological response.
It's a natural reaction. So she couldn't get herself to move out the door of the bedroom. And she could hear these blood-curdling screams from upstairs. She knew something terrible was happening to her friends, to her housemates. And then all of a sudden she heard thundering footsteps moving towards the stairs. And could hear this person coming down the stairs, knocking things as they were coming. And she quickly, I don't even want to say she made the decision because I feel like this was just instinctual. She ran to the back garden. So she ran into the back garden to hide. And as soon as she got to the back garden, she realised this wasn't the best place because there was a 6-foot fence around the entirety of the back garden. So she dived and hid behind the closest thing she could find. Now, while she was hiding, she could hear the person who had come into the house in the kitchen. She said it sounded like they were fiddling with the blinds in the kitchen. And she's not sure how long she was out there. I'm not sure how long she was out there, but she could still hear Adriane crying for help. So she made the decision to creep back into the house. Bear in mind, this woman didn't know if this person was still inside the house. She just couldn't stay out there hiding while she could hear her friend crying for help.
Yeah, like I think any of us would either try and get into the house or try and get some way out of the garden to get to a neighbour to call 911 or 999, depending on where you are. You know, you'd feel like you have to do some sort of action.
You have to help in some way, exactly. So she tried the landline in the kitchen, but it was dead. So she headed upstairs where she found Leslie face down. Now, some sources say she was face down in a pool of her own blood, and other sources say that she was face down in a pile of clothes. And that was at the doorway of Leslie's bedroom. And then she found Adriane. Adriane was crouched behind Leslie's bed. She was still alive, but she was bleeding very heavily from multiple stab wounds. So Lauren ran downstairs to grab her mobile phone, trailing bloody footprints throughout the house because the bedroom floor, Leslie's bedroom floor, was covered in blood and she had stood in it. And she stayed on the line with the operator until it went dead. Now, so what actually happened was, this was in 2004. The Napa
Like
Valley...
the phone, as in, was it a mobile phone and it went dead, or...?
No, so she was calling off her mobile phone, but the Napa Valley 911 infrastructure for some reason, wasn't able to support phone calls from a mobile phone as easily as landline calls. So after this incident, the Napa Valley actually upgraded their 911 system to ensure that this wouldn't happen again, where the line was going dead.
Yeah.
But she stayed on the line until it went dead, and then she started panicking, thinking maybe the intruder might come back. So what Lauren did was she grabbed her dog, jumped in her car and drove away while calling 911 again. Now,
yeah, because like, surely if like this dude was lurking and watching the house, he surely knew that there should have been 3 women inside that house, not just 2.
Exactly. Now, the reason I say he was lurking outside the house is because there was cigarette butts found later. But other sources do say that he just came to the house and went in. But the fact that there was cigarette butts found outside tells me that he was lurking out there.
Like, who's going to be just standing there smoking cigarette after cigarette after cigarette in that specific spot, like?
Yeah. So she got in her car, drove away. Now, one article that I read actually made me really annoyed because the way it was written made it seem like Lauren just fled the house when she heard the girls being attacked, which is not the case. She left that house because she was afraid that she was going to be stabbed the same way as her friends.
Yeah, like, sorry, what can you do how are you supposed to be of any help if you run back in too soon and you get stabbed and then there's 3 of you on the floor not able to do anything?
Exactly. She had called 911, the line went dead, she hopped in her car, called 911 as she drove away and made sure that the police got to that house and that an ambulance got to that house. She might have left the house. Nothing wrong with that. She had to look out for her own safety as well.
She already knew what had been done to them, and there was nothing she could do. It's not like she was, a trained doctor or a trained nurse or paramedic or something.
Exactly.
Like there was nothing she could do.
Exactly. Now, when police and paramedics arrived at the house, Leslie was unfortunately pronounced dead at the scene. Adriane was still clinging to life, but she died in the ambulance before they could get her to the hospital. Lauren was interviewed by the police, and she told them, it is very, very sad, honestly. So Lauren told the police what she had heard, but because she had been hiding when the man left, she was unable to give a description of him. Because when she was in the garden and she heard him fiddling with the blinds, he had left shortly after that. And then Lauren was sent to stay with relatives because it obviously wasn't safe for her to go back to the house, and the house was now a crime scene. Now, police knew that this wasn't a random attack because nothing was stolen from the house.
Okay.
And he didn't seem to know that Lauren was in her bedroom downstairs, so it's not a case of he got interrupted before he could steal anything.
Yeah.
Now, 2 weeks after the murders, Lily Prudhomme, was Adriane's best friend, organised a candlelit vigil for Leslie and Adriane. Their friends, their families, and many other people from Napa Valley and people who knew them and loved them and cared for them turned up to pay respects for them. And after the murders, Lily also reconciled with her ex-fiancé, Eric Koppel. They kind of decided that life was too short given what had happened, and they got married about 3 months after the murders. They dedicated a section of their wedding to Adriane and Leslie, and Adriane's mother spoke at the wedding reading a Bible verse picked by Lily to commemorate Leslie and Adriane.
That's nice.
Yeah, very nice. And then the FBI were called in with bloodhounds. The dogs followed a scent to Highway 89 but got no further leads. And the police, in an effort to preserve as much of the crime scene as possible, actually used ladders to take pictures through the windows of the house. which they closed for 10 days to investigate. So they went in and took pictures on the ladders first so that there would be no disturbing of the evidence in the house.
Yeah.
And then they went through and searched the house and did evidence collection on the house. And blood was found at the scene on the kitchen window, which would be where the killer was fiddling with the blinds. Initially, they believed that Leslie was the target and Adriane had heard something and tried to intervene. They questioned Leslie's ex, William Youngblood, and his father, because his father had somewhat of an obsession with Leslie and had actually...
That's not healthy.
No, and had actually called her twice the night of the murders. Now, it's unclear whether they spoke or whether he had just called and she hadn't answered.
Yeah.
But William and his father were ruled out because their DNA didn't match the blood and they were in South Carolina at the time of the murders.
So was their blood belong to the criminal as well?
So the blood on the window was from the killer, on the
Okay.
kitchen. And then all the blood upstairs was from the victims.
Yeah.
Police also interviewed a couple of men that Leslie had seen and had been seeing at the time of the murder. A couple of men that Adriane had been seeing or had seen, including one of her exes, but none of the DNA matched. And they knew that the DNA was from the killer because it matched the 2 fag butts that were found outside.
Okay.
Now, police conducted over 1,300 interviews and collected 218 DNA samples, but had no luck. The girls actually had such a large social group that the police had asked retired officers to come back and work on the case with them.
Jesus.
I know. And what they did was they began with the men that were closest to Leslie and Adriane and worked their way out. But unfortunately...
Because they always say that most of the time it's someone you know.
It's someone you know. Now, the fag butts that were found outside the house were apparently an unusual choice. They were a relatively new cigarette on the market. They were called Camel Turkish Gold. So the police investigated, but had no leads. So on September 22nd, 2005, they held a press conference where they announced that the killer smoked Camel Turkish Gold cigarettes, because this was really their only lead. This is the only kind of information that they had that could lead to a suspect, because apparently
and it sounds even at that like a very big long shot.
Yeah, so they were desperately hoping for information as this was their only lead, and they got more than they ever could have hoped for, because the killer handed him in.
What, just because they mentioned his cigarettes?
Yep. He was concerned that the police were getting closer to him, so he handed himself in. So, on September 27th, Eric Koppel, husband of Lily
Koppel. Did you say Koppel?
Koppel, husband of Lily Prudhomme, Adriane's best friend, confessed to the murders of Leslie and Adriane.
Okay, I did not see that coming.
I know, a twist.
I know, so I just can't get over the fact that his name sounds like the Irish word for horse.
Koppel. See, I think of the Penguin from Batman, because his surname in Gotham is Cobblepot. Cobblepot. So, police had asked Lauren around August if she knew anyone who smoked. August 2005, just to be clear. And after some thought, she had recalled that Eric had been smoking the day he helped her and Adriane to move in. Now, she didn't suspect him at the time, but she was forthcoming with police. Police had been trying to get him to submit DNA for a month before he handed himself in. But
so like, if he was refusing DNA and they were trying to get it was probably only so long before they tried to get a subpoena or a warrant or whatever.
But the thing is, the police didn't suspect him because they were very confused on what motive he would have to kill the 2 girls. He'd never even met Leslie. Never met Leslie. And he only knew Adriane through Lily.
Oh my God, was he? No, I'm not going to say it in case I'm right. I don't want to skip ahead. Continue.
So he was very hard to catch because he never seemed to be home when the police were asking him to submit some DNA. Okay. When they asked why he had handed himself in. Koppel said that he was worried police were closing in on him.
So not because he felt guilty or anything.
No, and he was suicidal. But when he had spoken to his family, so what had actually happened was he posted 2 suicide letters to his parents. And when they read them, they told him that confessing would be much better than him killing himself.
Oh, because he said it in the suicide letters.
Yeah. Now, police were confident that he was the killer because he told them that he had brought zip ties to the scene, but dropped them as he was climbing in the window. Police had found zip ties under the window in the front room where he had got in.
And who else would know that?
They had never released that detail to the public.
Yeah.
He stated that he had some sort of mental block and he couldn't remember fully what had happened that night. He remembered getting a military knife. He remembered going to the girl's house. He remembered smoking. He remembered climbing in the window. But after that, he said his eyes were closed and he couldn't tell them anymore. And he also didn't remember what he did after the murders. I'm calling complete and total bullshit on this, to be honest. Because how can you remember getting the knife, going to the house, standing outside smoking and climbing in the window, but after that you remember nothing?
See, I don't know, because I'm like, if he's already confessing and, you know, like, there's not really anything more, they need to give him more time.
I don't know. I personally think...
So I'm like, what benefit is that?
I personally think it's one of those situations where the killer wants to have that little extra bit of control.
Yeah, it could be either or. Or if he was or if before this, if he was some bit of a normal human being, maybe because what he was doing was so disgusting and unnatural to him that it was suppressed subconsciously.
Look, I'll admit that's possible. That is possible. I won't discredit that.
I just wonder what he has to gain.
Yeah, but it's just my personal belief that it's like a power thing. Now, Adriane's mother, Arlene, was absolutely shocked to her core when she found out that it was Eric Koppel that had killed her daughter and Leslie. She had thought that whoever killed her daughter couldn't possibly have known her. She had spoken at Koppel's wedding at his request, and he had been at
his request.
At his and his wife's request, and he had been at both of the girls' funerals, at the vigil, everything.
What a piece of fucking work.
Honestly. Now, Koppel was charged with 2 counts of murder as part of a plea bargain. The plea bargain was put in place because they kind of wanted to prevent the victims' families from having to go through the trauma of a trial.
Fair.
So this plea bargain took the death penalty off the table and barred him from appealing, being paroled, or profiting from his crimes. So very similar to another case that we did. I think it might have been Jeffrey Dahmer. I
was thinking, because Jeffrey Dahmer even said in his last statement to the court that he wanted, like, that, like, I think he did have to sign a thingy about not making money, but he also said that any money that is made because of it, he wants to go to the families of the victims.
Yes, he did. And yeah, so he was going to be sentenced to life in prison regardless of how this turned out. Now, at his sentencing, Arlene Allen, who was Adriane's mother, gave her statement saying, quote, "Eric, you knew Adriane, you know me, and Eric, I know you. You are a man who violently stabbed to death the best friend of the woman you loved. That is not love, Eric. You cannot home and stab her again and again and again and again and again and again and yet again. My baby never wore a turtleneck sweater in her life, and yet she had to be buried in one, and still it could not hide the extent of her wounds." End quote.
It's awful.
Absolutely awful. Like, that really, really hurt me, especially the part about the turtleneck sweater. Like, yeah, I don't know what it was about it.
Yeah.
Just got me. Leslie's mother, Kathy Harrington, also gave a statement saying, "For the rest of your life, you and your family will experience what both your victims and loved ones have felt. Terror, desperation, hopelessness, violence. I wish I could tell you that I forgive you. At this time, I cannot. And finally, I pray that never again will any mother's child grow up to be a murderer." Now, Kathy Harrington is actually a minister, And she did go on to do the Christian thing and practice forgiveness, to an extent.
Yeah, as much of an extent as you can in that circumstance.
Yeah. Now then, Lily Koppel, which is Lily Prudhomme's married name, took the stand, saying, quote, "I wish with all my heart these events had been avoided. Eric, there is nothing you could do to make me love you any less. These words are just as true as they were on that afternoon," end quote. Now that afternoon, I suppose, refers to their wedding. I don't really know what to make of that, because this is the man she loves, but he
But
killed
it's
her.
also the man that murdered your best friend.
Like, I can't put myself in those shoes. I can't imagine that. So I suppose make what you will of that yourself.
I'm judging.
Now, this really shocked and hurt Arlene, Adriane's mom, because she had become very close to Lily. Lily and Eric did divorce in 2008, and as far as I can tell, she has remained close to Arlene despite this statement. And then Koppel got his turn to give his statement.
Well, if they got divorced, I suppose maybe at first she probably thought, oh, I can deal with this. And then they say a lot of the time that things like that don't relate to, like, regardless of marriage or whatever the circumstances is. But when something like that happens psychologically, it can take a lot of people a while for the real effects to kind of hit you in the face.
Yeah, I think that could very well be it. Now Koppel got his turn to address everyone at the sentencing, as murderers typically do. And he said, "I am a broken man, a man splintered by a penetrating awareness of my own potential for wickedness. While I cannot fathom the full extent of the anguish that I have caused, I recognize that my sinful deeds have inflicted terrific agony on a number of people. The words evade me to articulate the depths of my sorrow. I was afraid my relationship with Lily, the singular ray of light in my black world, was in peril of collapsing."
Did he say terrific agony?
He did. To me, reading that, it seems very performative in the way that it's written.
I'll put it this way. I had more empathy for Jeffrey Dahmer than I do this guy.
I was actually going to say, when you compare this to Jeffrey Dahmer's statement at his sentencing, again, not excusing what he did in the slightest, but his statement seemed a lot more genuine.
Yeah.
It wasn't performative. And Koppel tended to use his mental health to not excuse what he did, but as like an explanation for what he did. Like saying, "I was afraid my relationship with Lily, the singular ray of light in my black world, was in peril of collapsing." Okay.
Like, it's like, fuck off, stop being poetic and just say sorry and go to jail.
Like, don't be so performative. You're not on stage, you're on the stand, you're on trial, hun. Like, grow up.
It doesn't sound very remorseful to me. As you said, it sounds extremely rehearsed and not authentic.
Yeah. So to this day, there's still no clear motive for why he killed Leslie and Adriane. It's kind of thought that he saw Adriane as an obstacle in his relationship with Lily, kind of thought that she was poisoning Lily against him, and that maybe when he went into the house, he went into Leslie's room at first by mistake, and Adriane heard something going on and rushed in to help, and then he killed her too.
Yeah, that sounds what I would make of it.
Main theory. Now, there is another theory that I don't really give much credence to, which is that Leslie...
You're going to have to tell me what the word credence means.
I won't put much weight to it.
Okay.
But basically, it's a theory that Eric tried to get off with Lily, or not Lily, sorry, Lily's his fiance, tried to get off with Leslie, propositioned her, she wasn't having it, and he was concerned that she was going to tell Lily, and that's why he killed her. But again, as far as I know, they never met.
Yeah, there's no basis for it. It's just more of a conspiracy theory than anything.
Yeah, it's more kind of thought to be small town rumour kind of thing. So
we know all about them.
Yes, we do. Koppel was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole as per the plea deal. Arlene, Adriane's mother, said after the sentencing, quote, I sometimes expect to see her walking in the door. I see her face clearly beside me, and then I understand just what a loss is. And
So
Leslie's mother,
heartbreaking.
honestly, it's just so upsetting. Like, Leslie's mother, Kathy, said, Leslie's life speaks for itself. Her 26 years were full and rich and productive, and she was a gift. I'm so grateful that I got to be her mom and that she brightened our lives. I miss her a lot. Sorry, I'm getting a bit choked up. So the last thing that I have written here is Leslie's mother and her two brothers built a cottage dedicated to her memory at the Calvary Home for Children in Anderson, South Carolina. And that is all the information that I have on this case for today.
That's so sweet, the home thing. So what does that mean about that home, that like it's in use by an organisation, is
It's
that?
been by an organisation for children. I
Okay.
suppose it provides more space so they could take
Yeah.
on more children. But I just thought that was a really nice thing to do, and a nice way to
A nice
honour her. Yeah.
I'm struggling with that word. Memorial.
Memorial. I think you were getting confused between memorial and memoriam. So it's kind of in memoriam.
I was getting confused between memorial and memorabilia.
Oh, it's a bit of memorabilia.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, hang on now. Did I have... Oh, I have a few other things written down, actually. Handwritten. So...
Very fancy. Very, very 19-something.
1975. So really the only thing is that the DA, the district attorney, kind of thought that the murders were all about Lily and Koppel trying to keep Lily. And in the end, he did get what he wanted. He got Lily. She married him, and they were married for 11 months before he turned himself in, and they continued to be married for 4 years, or 3 years, sorry, because it was in 5 that they got married. But there was a $100,000 reward for information leading to the arrest of the murderer. But because Eric Koppel turned himself in, they obviously weren't giving him the reward money.
Yeah, it doesn't count when you turn yourself in.
No, so the reward money was given to various charities, the majority of which were selected by Adriane and Leslie's families.
That's the most logical thing to do, in my opinion. That's nice.
I think so too. So
I didn't actually realise that they did that with rewards in that kind of situation until now.
Yeah, because what else can you do with it? Like,
well, I just thought if it was a reward because it was being provided by, I'm assuming, the state or the government, that it would just sit there and be kept in the funds until it's needed for a different reward.
I do believe it was mostly donated by local businesses.
Oh, okay, then fair.
So I suppose they made the decision between them to donate it to charity instead of giving it to the murderer or taking it back.
Yeah.
But that is the very, very sad case. Now, the reason I didn't research much about Lauren is because this was the most traumatic night of this woman's life. She survived it. I didn't mention her surname specifically because she survived it. She's been through enough, and I would like to respect her privacy.
Yeah, she's still here to live her life and leave this in the past.
But I will say she survived. She seems to be doing well with her life, and she seems to be as happy as you can be when you've gone through something like that.
Yeah, which is good that she's moving on in whatever way she can.
Absolutely.
Because, yeah, but fuck me. That was just, I really was not expecting it to be that dude. And I was like, wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sure.
Like his, like the woman he loves, he decided, I'm going to kill her best friend and her best friend's roommate.
Well, the only roommates I have are my birds. And if anyone ever breaks into my house to kill me and kills the birds too, I will come back from the afterlife simply because of the birds. And I will give them the most agonizing death.
That's an absolute mood. I would do the same.
Nobody hurts.
But
my animals. Obviously, the same goes if they hurt my family, just to clarify. But I'm just trying to
Birds are the
in my
priority.
bedroom.
Bird priority. He's a bird dad.
But
So
with
I have been very excited to hear the case of Petticoat Loose.
yes, that is our little Irish legend to finish this episode off with. So let me get my laptop a bit closer. Oh my God, I'm sitting in the car in the dark because I can't record inside, and I've just blinded myself with the brightness of laptop screen.
I'm sitting in my toasty warm sitting room.
I actually hope none of the neighbours see me. Laptop out in front of me on my lap in the back seat of the car in Marvel pajamas and a dressing gown.
I'm still in my uniform.
An old-fashioned dressing gown at that, but it was
Nice.
Grandad's, so, sentimental.
I'm still in my work uniform.
Mood. I'm only in my pajamas because I showered. I say that as if it's a rare occurrence. I shower every day, guys. Every second day at a push.
He's lying. He showers once every 5 months.
6.
Sorry, 6.
Anyway, so moving on from my hygiene, which is a daily thing, just to clarify. We have the Petticoat Loose legend. So, this Irish legend, now there is a few different sources going, like different stories, I suppose, different versions of it that say different names, but I've just gone with the one that I kind of found
like
to be mentioned most between all of them. So the Irish legend begins with Mary Hannigan from the townland of Colligan, not far, wait for this, from the village of Clogheen. Only out the road. So Mary was the only child of a farming family and is often said to have lived in the early 19th century. She was described, what?
I'm telling you now, it is rare for a farming family in the early 19th century to only have one child.
You know, that's a very good point. I didn't think of that, actually.
Catholics used to be popping out the babies. Sure, my dad's youngest was 15. And that was in the 70s.
They'd be breeding like rabbits back then.
Honestly. My poor nana.
Yeah, I'm like, if you added up, they spent the majority of their life pregnant.
Like, do you know there is like a 30-year age gap between my dad and his oldest brother, who is now dead?
That's just something else. Like, it just,
yeah.
When you think of the differences like that.
My nana had her first child in the 1940s and then had dad in 1970.
Times have changed.
When she was 40. When she was 40, my nana was a tough old bird.
It was a geriatric pregnancy, as they'd say nowadays.
Yeah. But anyway, sorry, Mary Hannigan, only child.
Only child, farming family, 19th century. Early 19th century at that even. I abbreviated that sentence
But the
way
priest
too
would
much.
call into that house constantly asking why they didn't have more kids.
Stop, yeah. So she was described as a strong, strapping lass who was well able to carry the workload of the family farm. Now, some versions, go on, good independent woman in the 19th century. We love to see it.
Go on, you good thing.
So when you said that, I just got images of Dustin the turkey. For those of you that aren't Irish and don't know what Dustin the turkey is, look it up.
Please.
You know what? Look up Dustin the turkey Eurovision.
Yeah.
Then you will see exactly how badly Ireland want to fork the money out to host that. Check it out. So some versions of the legend describe her as being 6 foot tall, that she did, and obviously I consider this to be sexist, but I just left it in because of the time, that she did the man's work on the farm, drank like a man, and would wrestle and fight with any local man when they mocked her.
Go on, Mary!
It is also... this isn't funny because it makes me sad when animals are involved. It is also said that she killed a bull with a single punch and that she killed a farmhand with his own spade and threatened to kill everyone if they told on her. So, she's a feisty lass. Mary supposedly had a gift when it came to dancing.
Oh,
She was well known locally for her dancing skills, as well as beating bulls to death and killing farmhands and threatening people. Just,
Mary had happy
you
feet.
know, she loved a bit of a salsa on a Saturday night. No, I
Nah,
know what she loved.
no, she was cracking out the Irish dancing.
Oh, 100%.
Although actually,
Um,
19th century, was Irish dancing even allowed then? Because we were under British rule.
were we? I see. I'm not really good with Irish history.
Oh,
Actually, I tell a lie. Well, no, I tell a truth, but there's more to it. I'm not very good at history. Full stop.
Right, don't
It's not just
don't get.
Irish history.
I won't let myself get started on the whole
No,
colonialism.
we won't, because...
Continue.
Right, okay, moving on before Tanya explodes. On one occasion, at a nearby wedding, there was an accident.
An
That led to her
accident.
being given... A what?
An accident.
An incident.
Incident. Oh, that's worse.
An accidental incident.
Oh, Jesus, that's even worse. Go
An
on.
incidental accident. Anyway,
Oh,
okay. That led to her being given a nickname that was used to mock her.
oh
Now,
no.
who wanted to mess with the woman who killed a bull with one slap?
Oh, dear God.
Um,
Like, I know where this is
so
going.
let's quickly go through the wedding incident where she got her lovely nickname.
Go on.
Mary enjoyed to drink as well as dance. Some variations of the story claim that she was a bartender.
Okay.
As the wedding celebrations went on into the early hours of the morning, Mary danced and danced, becoming, I suppose, more carefree and not paying as much attention to her surroundings,
Yeah.
and likely from the drink consumed throughout the celebrations, not being of any help to that.
Yeah, I would imagine.
So she was doing her thing. She was out on the dance floor, yeeting around, spinning and swirling around. And
Yeah.
then, wouldn't you know, her skirt got snagged on a nail, causing the buttons to pop off. And didn't Mary's skirt only fall to the floor, and everyone started laughing and jeering at her?
Oh, poor Mary.
Mary was so embarrassed, as you would be. Her
Yeah.
embarrassment and everyone laughing and mocking her triggered her violent temper. And
Oh.
Mary's new nickname was set in stone by her flailing into the crowd, almost causing a riot. And this incident is what led her to being crowned with the nickname Petticoat Loose.
Poor Mary.
Now, when Mary got married,
Oh.
it was, yes, I know, it was to a young man in the area who could almost match her on the dancing skills. Not quite, but he had a fine pair of legs on him.
He'd quick feet.
Happy feet, as you said.
Yes.
Now, Mary was only married to her husband for 1 year before he died under mysterious circumstances.
Ooh.
Mary was accused of intimidating and preventing a servant from going to help when the servant had heard the cries of Mary's husband. So it's just one husband of Mary's husband from the fields. Even though a search was conducted, a body was never found. According to Mary, her husband had just gone away, but that he would come back to her. The locals saw things in a more sinister light, and they were convinced that Mary was having an affair with a neighbouring hedge schoolmaster, and that the two of them had plotted and carried out the murder of Mary's husband.
Sorry, I just want to explain hedge schools really quickly.
Yeah, go, because I actually don't know what that is either.
For our non-Irish listeners, when Ireland was under British rule, the native Irish people were not allowed to be educated. They weren't allowed to go to school.
Oh, so, yeah, I know what a hedge school is now, yeah.
In order to educate the children, the schoolmasters, the hedge teachers would literally teach in a hedge.
Yeah, it was like hidden school.
Yeah, like you would have to go to school in the bush. In a literal bush. And that's all I'm going to say, because I will go on a rant. But anyway, that's what hedge schools are.
So his little affair, and that the two of them had plotted and carried out the murder of Mary's husband. And I just find this hilarious. Due to the reputation of her temper, questioning was apparently kept to a minimum and there was never a trial. What kind of temper do you have to have for questioning to be kept to a minimum and not have a trial?
Here, look, we know she killed her husband, but she also killed a bull with one punch. I'm not asking her no questions.
Yeah, I suppose they didn't have the kind of glass dividers and whatnot that we have now. That, yeah, I
Yeah.
suppose I'd be the same. I don't fancy meeting my demise to petticoat loose. So Mary continued her decadent ways, and sometime afterward, she went with a group of workmen to the local pub. And obviously, you know, her drinking was getting worse, and, you know, she was just kind of doing whatever, no matter
Yeah.
what. And they competed against each other and other punters in drinking challenges. And of course, Mary was right in the centre of the challenges because, you know, she was well able to drink. Go on to Mary.
Living the best life.
You
Like us,
know, murdered husbands in the past.
couldn't handle a
What
drink.
did you say there?
I said that's like us when we were like 16. And then I said I couldn't
Oh,
handle a
yeah.
drink.
No, same. I know people, everyone's always telling me, oh, when you hit 30, they start to last more than a day. I'm here. I'm like, I haven't hit 30. I'm in my early 20s and they still last 2 to 3 days. And we won't even talk about the mental deterioration that follows. That lasts a lot longer.
It's the fear for me. Like, I don't even get like sick or anything with a hangover. I just get the absolute fear.
I normally get a combination because I like to drink too much tequila.
Now, I'm very good at making sure I'm kind of sober when I go to bed so that I don't wake up with a headache and a sick stomach and stuff. But the fear just fucking follows me around like a bad smell. But
Yeah,
anyway, that Mary
it's
doesn't get the fear,
nasty.
but the fear is
No,
afraid.
apparently not. The fear is afraid of Mary. The fear
Yeah.
gets the fear. So obviously the challenges involved more and more alcohol each time until eventually half a gallon of ale was put in front of Mary.
Fuck off.
And what did Mary do? She drank it all in one go.
Jesus Christ. Go on.
So as Mary turned back to the crowd, what did she do? She keeled over because she'd consumed so much alcohol that she literally died.
Oh, Mary. Poor
Mary
Mary.
Hannigan, or Petticoat Loose, had died without, and in Ireland, very big thing, especially back then, had died without being read her last rites.
Oh, Mary, you're not going into the graveyard, love.
And even though her wake was a grand affair that was attended by people from far and wide, there was no priest in attendance, even for her burial.
Oh, Mary.
She's been outcasted by the church. Who
Yeah.
hasn't?
Church isn't letting you into heaven, hon.
So 7 years had passed, and Mary Petticoat Loose Hannigan was as good as forgotten, but not for much longer.
Oh.
One night at a dance in Colligan, a man who was tired and overheated from all his dancing decided to take a break at around midnight. So he made his way outside to cool down in the fresh midnight air. Do you know, we love a nighttime breeze.
Love it.
Nothing better, though, when you come out of the roasting
Yeah.
pub.
When you come out of the pub into the smoking area or out the doors, the drink does hit you full force in the face.
Yeah, and
The
sometimes
breeze is
followed by the
nice on your
floor.
cheeks. It's nice on your cheeks, and especially because I drink whiskey, my cheeks be fucking roasting.
I
And
get like that as well.
especially in the winter when you step outside and you feel that cold breeze, you're like, oh.
It's almost a sting as well in the winter.
Yeah, nice stuff.
So he made his way outside to cool down in the lovely air, and it wasn't long before he ran back inside, terrified by what he had seen while he was outside. He
Oh, God.
breathlessly told everyone inside that he had just seen Mary sitting on a wall near the dance hall. Not one person dared to go outside until morning, and Mary's spirit was soon seen by others. One night, a man in a car, her spirit's just yeeting about the gaff. What?
Because one person said that he saw her ghost. Nobody left the dance hall until the morning.
Yeah, talk about, like, leaving behind the fear.
It would have been straight out like, where's the ghost? I want to see it. I want to see it.
Same, I'd have been like, where's my EMF detector? So, where was I? Oh yeah, and then obviously soon Mary's spirit was seen by other people as well.
Mm-hmm.
And one night, a man in a cart offered a lift to a woman that was standing on the side of the road.
Very nice. Very nice of him.
Very good chap, very good chap.
A gent.
The woman hopped into the back, and as the man shook the reins, the horse dropped dead in its tracks.
Stop.
So I'm assuming the woman that hopped into the cart was Mary.
Which Mary? Why did she kill the horse?
I don't know.
Poor
Fucking
horse.
bitch.
Poor, poor horse.
Sightings of Mary began to grow, and the people living in the area armed themselves with folk and religious items to protect themselves in case they were to meet the spirit of Mary. Anxiety and worry among the community grew so much that, as in typical Irish fashion, an appeal was made to the clergy for help, because the church is totally not the root of so many problems and can fix everything.
No, not at all.
But as you said on the whole colonialism, I will say on the matter of the church, I will say no more.
As will I, because I can also go on a rant about that.
In one version of the legend, it was said that it was a brave priest who finally banished Petticoat Loose. I was going to make a comment and I'm not going to. I'll tell you afterward.
I'm excited.
It is said he had a vial of holy water and found Mary crossing a field nearby. The priest caught her attention and asked her what her name was. When she told him that her name was Petticoat Loose, he poured the vial of holy water onto her. At the same time, he requested that for killing her husband, she be banished from land forever, but only from land. He damned her to spend eternity in the cold and supposedly bottomless Bay Loch in the mountains, condemning her to empty it with a thimble. It is believed that Mary is still there to this day, performing her penance, forever trying to empty a bottomless lake with only a thimble.
That's mad. I can't believe I never heard that before. Because, like, I've been up to... So, for the listeners, Bay Loch is also known as the V. It's a very popular spot for people to just drive up. It's very beautiful. I might actually have some pictures.
It's literally like, what, 20 minutes from us?
I might have some pictures that we can put up on the Instagram. But it is a gorgeous spot. And I've been up there loads of times. Never heard the legend. Now, I was told that it was a witch at the bottom of the lake. Or the loch. But never heard the actual legend before. So I was really interested in this.
And I suppose when you think of the time frame, the time period the legend is from, anyone who could come back to life in a spirit form probably was considered to be a witch.
Yeah, probably. Poor Mary. Bet she wasn't even a witch. Just a bad bitch.
Yeah. So that is our Petticoat Loose story.
That was very interesting. Thank you.
Yes. So some relatively local legend.
Yeah. Very close.
So that I guess concludes this week. Your crime, my legend. Next week will be my crime, Tanya's legend, and it will also be the Halloween episode, because obviously this is a Halloween episode, but it's actually the next episode is actually on Halloween.
Yes,
when it comes out,
covering a Scottish legend that my boyfriend told me that I thought was very interesting.
Oh, chest pain. Lol. Just having a little heart attack in the backseat of the car.
Petticoat Loose. She's reaching out.
She's reaching out. Girl, get back to Bay Loch with your thimble. But anyway, so that is that. Do you have anything to say? I think I'm done.
No. It's like 11:15. I have work tomorrow. I'm very tired.
I can't wait to get into that fucking bed. My bed, not your bed. We live in different places. I don't know why I'd be getting into your bed.
Josh got a new mattress and he is besotted with the mattress.
I feel like I'm in a hotel bed every night.
I'm telling you, it's the memory foam mattresses. Like, they are something else.
I can't wait to have a free house sometime and try it out. Catch my drift.
Better make sure the roommates aren't around to hear.
Yeah, in other words, put
lock
a blanket
the front
over
door.
The bird cages.
Lock the front door.
Lock the front door while you're being a whore.
I should have locked the front door while I was being a whore, but I didn't. And
I will learn from your mistakes.
And
I'll leave the key in the door.
A message. Maeve, I know you listen to this podcast. If you tell Mom and Dad about my story that I told, I'm going to shave your head. There you go.
So yeah, now, when the barber gets barbered.
Yeah, I'm going to shave your head and I'm going to break all your barbering machines. Let's see you work then.
Girl, at least be smart. Sell them on Dundeal. Don't break them.
Okay, I'm going to shave your head and I'm going to sell all your machines on Dundeal.
But don't worry, we'll give your hair to Rapunzel Foundation.
Yeah. She's got lovely long hair.
She does, to be fair. Go on to Maeve with the lovely hair.
Rat. Don't be a rat.
But yes, so, and with that, we are coming up to an hour, so we will leave it there. This is the first episode in a while that's actually not been over an hour.
Yeah.
So that's actually kind of a nice change.
You fucking killed me.
So, with all of that said, we'll let you simmer with those true crimes and that little legend, and we will see you all, speak to you all, wreck your brains all next week.
Yeah, and if you're up at the V, throw Mary a bucket or something. Be nice.
Yeah, actually, no, don't. She's a cunt. She killed a cow and a horse. Don't mind the husband. I can get over that.
She's gonna come put birds in the face.
But anywho, so I honestly nearly fucking died.
Why?
Because, okay, yeah, no, I literally just got such a fright. I actually just had to stop an anxiety attack.
Why?
I felt something touch my hair, and then 2 seconds later, something was walking beside the car window, and there were shadows. It was only my fucking brother coming back home from being downtown.
Jake,
But like, it is 11:15 at night, and I honestly think my heart nearly either came out my chest or just sank down and shot out my arsehole. I'm not really sure. Oh, okay. Anyway, enjoy that mental image until next week.
Speak to you soon.
Ciao for now. Bye.
Bye.